VigilanteWilliamson here on the 4th episode of Culture Crime Fighters with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Foulball Productions.
Hello. This is Culture Crime Fighters. We are a cultural crimes task force so powerful, so far-reaching, not even the most dastardly of villains can escape. Our goal is to identify and defeat all culture criminals wherever they lurk and destroy them. For too long have these cretins carried out their nefarious deeds, and we will sit for it no longer. Beware. You may commit your culture crimes, but if you do, justice will be served at the hands of the Culture Crime Fighters.
I love that. I love that.
What up?
Hey. We have some culture criminals. We have a culture supervillain to talk about. Supervillain who will never be defeated, it looks like, amongst a lot of stuff. But how you doing, Matt? How's everything going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Had a pretty productive week. Started that solo show on Monday that you were in on. And that was fun, you know?
It was cool.
Just trying to stay busy, stay relevant, trying to keep my head about me as I read the craziness that's on Twitter. I mean, and out there in the world. How you doing?
I'm doing, man. I'm doing. I haven't been, I don't really do the Twitter. Like, I have a Twitter, but I don't do the Twitter. But you still see everything, when you start seeing people making videos. Because I mean, YouTube is the only platform I use religiously. Seriously.
Yeah,
well, Twitch. I use a lot of Twitch, but
I mean, I literally only go to that platform just to get, if any kind of story broke or any kind of information for these streams. Other than that, I can't be arsed, as the Brits say. It doesn't. Fuck that. Who needs that? It's the most toxic, hostile, and Twitter is awful. The stories that they promote, it's so disgusting. It'll just be an article from one of their cronies, and they're like, "This is trending." It's like, no, it isn't. You said this is not a story. Oh, it's so gross. But yeah, I think that's what's so great about us being here is we get to say our own stuff. We get to combat the nonsense, Yeah,
we're really citizen media. I did a pop-up show yesterday and somebody said, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't know about a lot of this stuff. And I never thought of it like that. Wow. I'm actually someone who people are getting we are people who people are getting news from us, even, you know what I mean? Because we're more reliable reporters than the mainstream sources. Speaking of people, we haven't forgot you people. Hell, Lord Thoth. Hell, Robert.
Thoth.
Hell, Islington girl.
Hello. The profile picture now. Now we get to look upon her heavenly visage.
Yeah, she's a lovely Islington girl.
Lovely Islington girl.
Who's not so lovely is the horse-faced lady who's committed crimes against Star Wars, which we will definitely get into.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are probably watching the Nooner. And that's one thing I thought about now with our time slot. Looks like we're going to always be at the tail end of Nooner.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. Gary's Nooner is pretty sporadic. I mean, his time when he starts is sporadic. The day he does it is sporadic. So it's not
guaranteed.
No,
but he's been hitting this past few weeks.
Yeah, so I'll do
it. You never know. And then we can't just not compete against anyone.
No, I mean and look, Gary streams 8 days a week. So what are we supposed to do?
Very true.
He's always somewhere. Yeah. But all right. Well, do you want to talk some KK?
Yeah, might as well. I don't have anything up, and I know Gary played parts of the actual call. I hadn't heard it. I just saw it off bound. I can pull up the article. But basically, long and short, Kathleen Kennedy will never die. She will never, ever, not, metaphorically, but she will never, ever be replaced. She will never go anywhere. And this is what I expected. This is what I've been expecting. So many people, well, her contract's up and this. I'm like, she's not going anywhere. When I saw what happened with, this goes back a year or so, but when I saw what happened with, I call her Leslie Headpiece, but Leslie Headland, she was an assistant of a certain exec in Hollywood that, used the casting couch in a little bit nefarious ways. and she was able to go around Disney to get her show promoted. She promoted her show before Disney announced it. And not only which is breaking protocol. Clownfish did a lot of reporting at the time on that, so shout out to them. But not only that, she ended up getting her show, produced by doing it. She basically went to the press on her own, said she had a show, and then it made it happen. And people aren't usually able to do that.
I think
Disney.
it's also. I think that's also collaboration with Kathleen Kennedy. I don't think that's just her. I think that's
what I meant.
Yeah, okay.
That was a symbol of when I saw her do that, that meant, okay, there's a different rule set for the Kathleen Kennedy crew, and there's something different about how they move. They can do things differently. You know what I mean? Because even for Kathleen Kennedy to just go around Disney's thing, like it wouldn't surprise me if Kathleen Kennedy, because her power is in the media. Her power is out everybody else, all these shill sites. That's who the people will cook for her. So she was able to go around them to get her stuff made, regardless of whether Disney wanted to or not.
I agree with that, but I also think it was a power move on her part. I think it was something that she did behind the scenes to wrestle power away from Favreau, Filoni, and Bob Iger. I think like if she puts that out in the world, then they have to follow up on it. And she knows that the climate, the way it is, they can't just not go ahead when they make something with what's considered minority content, which now white women are somehow a minority. I'll never understand that.
Because there's more white women than white men, right? There's more women than men, right?
I mean, even if they're exactly the same, it's not a fucking minority.
Yeah. But I mean, ridiculous. My point is, I think they're actually the majority.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I do. I agree. But I'm saying even
not only they're not a minority,
but
the majority.
She knows the leverage, the way the society is right now, that if they can't cancel like a show like that now, because it'll be, Bob Iger's sexist canceling lady shows, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think that was a total power move by her part.
Yeah, Islington Girls, right? Her crew doesn't move as much as Slither, and 51% of population are female. But when I saw that she could make moves like that, I was like, okay. Oh, thanks, Rajesh. Such a helpful mind.
Hey,
appreciate that. Yeah, feel free to tip. And let me know if you tip, because I don't have the alert thing. When I saw she can make moves like that, I'm like, you know what? I don't think they can just get rid of her ever.
I don't think they can. And I think this is something I addressed this on Monday with, I think it was a response to something Rajesh said, actually, but it was, even if she's gone, like the SJWs are betting like ticks in LA, in Hollywood. Like, they're not going anywhere. Like, they opened the door. That was the criteria on which you had to get hired. That was who all the friends are. That's the social circle. So it's like, if she doesn't go, it's like, if she does go, whoever will replace them will just be another carbon copy, or will at least have the same values and could be very similar. And I just think it's not just one figurehead. It's a whole culture that exists in this town.
That's very, very true. You would have to literally like scorch the earth.
Yeah,
you'd have to replace everyone, because you're absolutely right. That the investor call, which let me pull something up that said that basically there was an investor who asked specifically about this. He asked, just to paraphrase, is there any talk about letting Kathleen Kennedy go or having her step down? And actually, I got it pulled up. Let's go ahead and pull it up on the old Google machine. Share the old screen. And here we go. So, George from San Antonio. Shout out to George from San Antonio. Shout out to Texas, where it's the only land of the free and the land of the free. So, he asked Chapek point blank, are you guys looking at firing Kathleen Kennedy or asking her to resign and promote someone like Filoni or Favreau or both to the co-counsel?
And this guy's an investor? He's an investor?
An investor. He is an investor. These are people on the investors call. And I will get into the other controversial part in a minute, but we'll just talk about old KK for now. So Chapek responds. And by the way, this Chapek and Iger are kind of Chapek is right now the CEO, but he's only just gotten that job, and Iger was still doing things as of like today because he's, they're both still, but he's the figurehead. He's the current figurehead. So Chapek responded, we've been absolutely thrilled that we can have the type of kind of creative talent in our company. Listen to this. The likes of Kathleen or Kathy Kennedy, as he called her, running Lucas. To call her creative talent and then call her Kathy. What the fuck? We look forward to having Kathy directing the activities of the entire Lucasfilm organization for many years to come. Point blank, period. She will direct the operation or activities for the organization for many years to come. She's not going anywhere ever.
I mean, look, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, they're not going to say, yeah, we're firing that bitch. Are you kidding me? She's awful. She's loses money. We don't like her. The fans hate her. Yeah, we're getting rid of her. Like, they would never say that. Ever, especially if it's going to be something that could go public like that. They'll say, no, we love her and she'll be here for years. And then next month they'll fire her. Like, this is corporate. This is Hollywood. That is not, they're not transparent. That's not how they act.
So as you're saying this, there happens to be an ad for football. It's like IBM something football. And I'm thinking that that's a football response to it. It's a sports response.
100%.
Vote of confidence.
PR response, 100%. And
then you get fired next week. Yeah. And that's best case scenario. And that does indeed happen. You're absolutely right. Because when you get point blank that hot take question, you're like, oh, well, I can't just fuck up everything because she's not fired.
And these responses affect stock prices. So it's not, this guy just can't come out and say something controversial. Like, this is all money. This is a, you're talking about moving an aircraft carrier. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's like, if he said something like, yeah, we're going to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, that could move stock prices. It might be, in a year or so. Like, he can't say anything other than what he said.
Man, you know what? There's a way to answer that question. He can just talk about, the Mandalorian was successful. He could just bring up the success and not bring up her future at all. And just kind of dodge he dodges. He sort of lies.
100%. He lies right there. We've been absolutely thrilled. What are you thrilled about? That she lost you billions of dollars? Yay! What?
But I mean, the years to come. Like, he doesn't have to address the future directly either way to me. But maybe that, like you said, will affect the stock price because people were reading into that. But I mean,
I'm just trying to imagine a response that he could give that would be something like, we'll see, or what else can he say? Like, they have to act as if all the decisions they make are the right, powerful decisions. They can't show cracks in the armor. So every decision they make is the wisest, smartest, best decision they've ever made. So they have to go through with that. Like the line, the company line.
It's very true, but like, I don't know, man. I still feel like she's not going anywhere. I do agree with you. They're not just going to say, yeah, we're going to get rid of her. But I don't know. That the years to come still, I get it. But just seeing that we look forward to her directing activities for years to come, it's just like seeing that and hearing it, it's just like, I just don't feel like she's going to get fired. Like, ultimately, that's what it is. There's still this thing out there about her contract being up.
Is that okay? Is it such a bad thing that she doesn't get fired? And I'm not saying this in defense of her. I'm saying if she stays there, it might continue to alienate fans. It may continue to polarize, even normies against them and her, and could effectively kill the brand, or at least effectively kill the brand, to the point where they have no choice but to shift in a more reasonable direction. If they did switch over and gave Lucasfilm to Filoni or Favreau or something like that, then that would give us hope. But then that could be bad too, because if we get hope again, then we might come back and then get more woke bullshit, and this just gets dragged out for another decade.
That's an interesting take. And it's not one I consider. And as I listen to it, I mean, there's a lot to that. A lot I agree, because And then my point is, I'm so done with Disney right now. Anyway, I don't even. I'm not gonna say I don't care. I do care, right? Like, of course we still care. That's why we talk about this shit, because we still care, even if we don't want to. We may hate the company. We care. I care.
Yeah, of course we care. Why are we talking about it?
Yeah. But man, there's a part of me that I just want to boycott Disney. I want to get through this breakup. I want to just delete the number, go move on, go to the bar. You know what I mean? Just move on from Disney, not just Star Wars, but the whole Disney brand. Because for a myriad of reasons, it's not just the wokeness. It's this isn't good anymore, and you're not making good material, and you have all of these franchises, and you're just ruining them. And I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah, I think they need to lose 100%.
I'm kind of
like
with
the
you.
example I gave, on Monday. It was just the way the studio system was so destroyed in the 60s because they didn't know how to make movies anymore. They had lost complete touch with their audience. These studios were close to going bankrupt and losing money. That's where we need to get Hollywood back to, because they need to respect their fan base again. They need to respect the consumer at some point. And I only think the way that you can do that is that we just walk away entirely. And we're just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. Flashy, shiny bells, whatever. I don't give a fuck. And they just lose touch of it. They really truly, you go woke, you get broke.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I'm like that with a lot of things. Just let them destroy it. I've said that in the past. They got this damn rock. Let it get worse and worse until the point where it's gone. Yeah. The only thing, and this is the thing I wrestle with, is the franchise being dead afterwards. There's nothing else to say. Star Wars is it cannot be it gets to the point where Star Wars is just completely dead. Even to the point where you can't even watch the movies anymore.
Oh, well, that's never going to happen. They can't do that. They cannot take A New Hope from me. They cannot take Empire or Jedi. They can't. There's no way they can affect that. They cannot. Those movies existed well before this monster made any creative decisions, well before wokeness was so mainstream it dominated all content. There's no, they can't take that from me. That's impossible. So it's even the way they decimated Luke. So the only thing they can do now is just destroy any future of the brand, or make it so risky to make any stuff that they just stop. And then eventually the property goes down in value and someone with some integrity buys it, and it can, new content can come out of it. But I'm not holding my breath. I mean, when the best thing we have is The Mandalorian, that doesn't give me a lot of optimism for the future.
That's true. And I just wanted to highlight this comment. The Islington girl says, and I've said this a bunch, she's got the goods. I don't know what. Polaroids, middle of folders, USB drive, something, #blackmail.
Wouldn't shock me in the slightest. I think there's been a lot of leverage of the Me Too era in Hollywood where they're like, well, we could go public with this, or you could shut up and let me have control.
And I guess they will try to avoid letting anything of that sort get out. Yeah, they will.
Until they have to.
Hey, Manolo Rivera, which I think you're new.
Manolo. I think I saw Manolo commenting on one of my videos today. And he showed up. What's up, Manolo? Hi.
Hey, Manolo Rivera. Matt, depends on how to define value. Profit v social points. Which, that's social points, this system. Social credit system's already here, folks. Fenrir the Ice Wolf. Hello there, gentlemen. Hello,
hey, Phil. What up, Fenrir?
And Islington girl says they will never take the OT from me. And honestly, I don't think they will from me, but I know they will. They'll probably rob it for future generations, because no one's going to even care to see it.
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of, but that's on us, right? I mean, that's on us to educate the next generation. We have to, you got to do that anyway. You know what I mean? You got to show the kids big and the good movies from the past. It's that's kind of on every generation, really. I mean, that's why I even know Star Wars, is because my dad sat me down and showed me the original trilogy.
Very true.
When I was a kid.
True.
So.
And even Iron Catch says, I can hear about them making insane decisions, but they will never ruin it for me if I don't see their work. And that's another thing. I haven't actually seen the second and third of the Disney tragedy, and I will never see those films. I'm just not gonna.
No, I will not do it to myself.
Not for that purpose. For the purpose of, because I could see that. Listen, I could understand if you saw those films and it did affect you, because you still saw Luke drink the milk. Like I saw the little gifs of it, but I didn't see it in context of film. And yeah, Islington girl, I genuinely said she has too much dirt. She knows where the bodies are buried. I've said that a million times, and I definitely think Headland if whatever bodies that Kathleen doesn't know from the 80s and back in the day, Headland knows from the recent era. So they've both been in Hollywood for a long time. They know a lot of stuff about a lot of people. Hell, Stone Cold Jeremy.
Yo,
appreciate you being here. And how's it going?
It's going good.
Hope you're doing good.
With a Steve Weiser in the in the chat. Love it.
Yeah. If we ignore their stuff, they cannot ruin our franchise. Look, they rebooted the Powerpuff Girls and race swapped and hired an anti-white racist. Is that what they did too? I know they're rebooting the Powerpuff Girls. And yeah, I'm not watching that either, Fimber. I joked about it when it was announced last year and had because they some cartoon animation domination did and maybe they knew before everyone else did. They did like a joke reboot of Powerpuff Girls where it was like Powerpuff Girls, like based off the Girls show, the HBO show. So they were all like they were all grown and in New York and like
narcissistic and annoying,
narcissistic thoughts, and didn't really want to be superheroes.
That's funny. That's a good joke.
But that looks like what this show is going to be. Also, white people bad.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. Like, I really think the safe money is that everything they make is going to suck. That we should almost collectively walk away until something really demands that we go back. You know, like, I mean, it's hard for me to say that as a YouTube creator, because I mean, it's definitely worth everyone's time for people like, you know, Doomcock or Gary or Mauler to go watch garbage and then report back and let us know that it's garbage, like saving us from watching The Last Jedi or not the last, whatever the fuck it is, whatever those stupid movies are.
The Ass Jedi.
Yeah. So, but I just think like as a fan, it's wise to just walk away entirely, assume nothing will be good, and go find other ways to entertain yourself, because I don't see this changing. Like you see, like they're doubling down now. Like even though it's proven that their model loses money, even though it's proven that the fans don't like it, it's like they just continue to make it and make it more and more woke and double down on the identity politics and this, that, and the other. So they're not going to learn until like we don't even hear them anymore.
I agree. I mean, I've said, and you know, Islington Girl went to conspiracy theories. Speaking of Islington Girl, cheers to you. She sent the $1 super chat via Streamlabs, but you can as well if you.
There you go.
So cheers, Islington Girl. But she has her theories about Kathleen Kennedy, as do I, and I have my theories about why they're able to double and triple down. Not just them, but a lot of these studios, I believe, are being shadow funded. Not, you know, and I think the same country that they filmed Mulan in may have a little bit to do with the funding. Just a thought.
Look, I don't really think it's that far off base, and I don't want to get too crazy in the woo woo, but
yeah, well, this is my channel. Feel free. Wow.
I can't. If you get canceled, then I by proxy can get canceled. Okay. But I was thinking about that because, like, remember, like in the 40s when there was like the McCarthyism hearings and all that stuff, and they're like, communists are invading Hollywood, and everyone's like, that's hilarious. And then you find out later that that's actually part of like the plot to destabilize like a Western nation is to go in their culture. And now you see like all of their entertainment, all their propaganda like hits like the kind of socialist check boxes. You know what I mean? If you consider identity politics socialism, which I do, it's like, it doesn't seem that far-fetched that actually was the plan and it's paying off. Like that this is the idea, is to destabilize this democracy in service of some nefarious goal. I mean, it doesn't seem that wild to me at all.
No, it doesn't. And that's especially with, I mean, just some of the things they've done in that country, China, as a former president would refer to it as, the fact that they've said what they said about they said what they said about the LGBTQ community, considering a mental illness. They're trying, it's like,
Well,
okay, they're allowed to do all this stuff, but we have to be lectured by these same people.
Whenever a foreign nation does that, that's just their culture. Like, it's okay to have women wearing.
Yeah, their culture. That's right.
It's okay. That's just their culture. Our culture is always horrible, patriarchal, and oppressive, despite the fact that it's like statistically the freest in the world. But it's like when a Middle Eastern culture, like, stones gay people to death. That's their culture. Like, we're not going to touch that. That's their culture. It's utter hypocrisy. It's self-righteousness. But that's why it makes sense that it comes from this idea to crack up this democracy and could divide and conquer and create these rifts in society so that it's easier to take over and destroy. Because why else would this be so constant? It's like, you'd think, right? There's how many millions of Americans who are in the red, red states. Like, you'd think just from a purely economical standpoint, there'd be one studio in this town that would be like, no, fuck it, man. We're making Trump content. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's like
Republican buy shoes too. What happened to that?
Yeah, like there's just a huge gap in the market, and they don't do that. And it's like, why would that not be a thing? It's because it's so unpopular here to be anything different than the cult that they won't even take the millions of dollars they could potentially be making from that. That's suspicious.
Yeah, I don't think we're crazy in the woo-woo culture, even though that's what Foulball says. Shout out to culture, and I see a lot of people starting to sneak in here. I appreciate it.
Hello, sir. Good to see you, my friend.
And Ogre Squasher, shout out to you. Greetings from the grave. I hope you're not dead. I hope you're not. Fimmer says he will never do woke and diversity in my story. I'll never do woke and diversity in my stories. I put story, cool fight scenes, visuals, hot women. Okay, cool. Nice. Above all in my stories. Foulball knows I'm talking about you too, Vigilante Williamson. Yes, Fimmer is a writer. So that's why I want to support his career, so we can have those stories, because we're gonna have to make those stories. Speaking of which, Mr. H Reviews, who he has movies coming out, and he's a YouTuber, and he has a couple movies coming out. And I actually super chatted him saying he's the future of media. He did he has 2 short films, and on each short film, because he's selling the Blu-ray for him, he's gonna actually premiere the, I think, movies online. But for each short film, he has like an hour documentary. The documentary behind the scenes is longer than the films themselves, but he put that much extra work into trying to create something for the fans. He said, we don't even get special features anymore. I'm like, you're right, we really don't. So I'm like, I thought that's thought, and that type of stuff is what's going to be what has to happen, because I don't think we're going to get anything out of Hollywood.
I agree, and he's got 270,000 subs. That's a big ass platform.
It is.
That's a big platform to launch a short film on. You know what I mean? If his fans show up and they watch it, and it could go places, then people will, who knows? Maybe it can make an impact. Maybe it can make waves. Maybe he can sell it to the Daily Wire. Maybe more like independent distribution houses or independent production houses will come up once they see a model like these that are productive and make money. I mean, the comedy industry has dramatically changed. A lot of comics started putting their specials out on YouTube, and they're getting millions of views, and it's changing the dynamic. It's, Andrew Schultz left like the industry, just started doing whatever he wanted, putting it out on Instagram, talked all kinds of shit about Netflix, and then Netflix ends up buying a special from him.
Wow.
Yeah, there's ways to create and contradict the system. So I think we support that stuff. That's the type of stuff we look for. We promote it when we can. We watch it when we can, instead of saying we're going to do it and then putting on The Dark Knight again, we actually spend the time watching the thing. And, like the best advertising is word of mouth, 100%. So if we like it, and I mean, we as in all of us, that's the way to get stuff like this to spread.
Yeah. You know what I've been wanting to do? And I need to set time. I want to start trying to find movies. You had the Matt Recommendee, finding movies that people don't know. Like you had the Repo Man, you guys, you and Paulie did, and getting people to watch these movies. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a huge part of that. Of finding the other, finding the new pop culture, because it's not going to come from the old channels anymore. That's just obvious.
Yeah, I'm retooling that Matt Recommendee show. I'm like, because the long conversation is interesting to me and maybe the other person, but it doesn't make sense to do a long form recommendation if you haven't seen the movie. Then you're like, what I imagine is that someone's like, well, I can't. I'm just gonna have the whole thing spoiled for me, so that's not really a recommendation, is it? So it's like I'm trying to figure out maybe like little bite sized content, maybe like 5 to 8 minute videos about the movie, just to get like a friend pitching it to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
Man, we got a bunch of people in the chat here.
Tons of people in the chat. There's no way I can get to everyone's comments. But I did want to go back to this one. Fenrir says the Cold War never ended. Gentlemen only went underground. And then Mark D with the Sea Hell. I love the pirate. A lot of people are probably living the pirate life nowadays with what these companies are doing. But when the KGB files were released after the fall of the Soviet Union, many ties to Hollywood and front groups were revealed. Yeah.
It's not surprising. It's not even slightly. It makes perfect sense. And I just knowing the culture out here, how cult like it is, and how much you need to convert in order to get any kind of work, to even hang out in the communities, to get close to work. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Hell Friday Night Tyson and crew, the spear of the realness v wokeness. Hell Eric K. Wrench King of all wrenches, and apparently he is going to be working with Gary according to the Nooner. So that's really cool.
What does that mean?
Officially working. I don't know. I'm not sure. He said he was talking about Neurotic Daily, and maybe Eric. I don't know. Not sure what Eric K can actually disclose in chat, but he was talking about how him and Perry Chan are partners in on that channel, and that Eric K is going to be brought on board for stuff. I was doing other things, so I don't really remember what Eric K is going to be doing. Cool. But Eric K does so much. He's the king of all wrenches. He is, as long as he does Eric K stuff, I'm sure it'll be good enough.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Good to hear, Eric K.
Speaking of my kings, just another red shirt. He's taking Miss Red Shirt out to dinner, so enjoy dinner.
Hey, enjoy dinner. I didn't know there was a Mrs. Red Shirt.
Yeah,
that's rad. There you go. I know. I saw Lord Thoth is here. I know there's a Mrs. Thoth.
Yeah, Hell Lord Thoth.
Hell Lord Thoth. Hell Lord Thoth.
Saw somebody new. Brightest Day. Hell, Brightest Day.
Brightest Day was hanging out with me on the MFR.
Okay,
I saw that. Yeah, that was my water bottle.
Islington Girl. Yes, the results are in. Everyone loves the movie Heat. If you have not seen Heat from 1995, go see that movie. It's so freaking good. It is so good.
Did that come up in the Nooner?
Yeah, it came up in the Nooner.
That's wild.
It is wild because when were we just talking about that?
Yeah, Monday we were talking about that in LA Confidential.
Yeah. I think because we were talking about good movies and I tossed that out. Yeah.
That's so cool.
But Heat's a really good movie. It's a really, really good movie.
I love Heat.
It's a long one, but it's good.
It is, but it's a good long.
Yeah.
I mean, they used to make great movies. Like they really did. Like it's amazing when you see one of those movies, just how devoid of a political lens it is. You know, it's like Hollywood always kind of like jerking themselves off. Like if you go back and even watch a movie like Field of Dreams, like he's like an old like hippie, like he's obviously a liberal Democrat. He could never possibly be anything else. But like it's so not a big, it's just in the story, whatever. It's always been there. But it's not, the movie doesn't have that lens. Like it's not like everything needs to be like propaganda and like fit these quotas and check boxes. Like they're just movies, and it's so refreshing to watch them. Like it's so beautiful, and you're like, oh my God, they used to make good movies.
Yeah, they used to care, and they don't. But we will. I want to get into a filmmaker a little bit later on about a filmmaker who seems to care, at least by what I've seen. Because we talk about wanting to do, highlight the positive. We've talked, and me and Foulball personally talked about wanting to do a segment. I want to highlight the culture heroes when we can find them. So I do want to talk about the Mortal Kombat director in a little bit. Maybe just segue into that.
Let's do it.
As a matter of fact, so because I was watching the breakdown of the trailer for the Mortal Kombat trailer, and he was talking about how he had 20 different prototypes for Kung Lao's hat. And I'm like, that's the attention of detail and the work that you want to hear, right? You want to hear that these people care. He was talking he was breaking down every little scene that he could and just talking with so much detail, care, and interest about what he was making. And we took that for granted for generations because we do not get that now.
And it was one of the things that really ingratiated me to the Lord of the Rings trilogy was that attention to detail. Now, like I had seen them films and I really enjoyed them, but I was dating a girl about 10 years ago who loved them. And she got me into them like, no, you have to, these are amazing. And I was like, all right, I mean, I saw them. I guess they were good. And then I watched all the documentaries alongside it. And like, you see how much attention to detail went into creating each culture. And all the weapons had their own style and the architecture and the clothing. And it was like they created a whole other world. And you're just like, wow, man, like these people made another world, the attention to details on another level. And you know, that's the type of stuff that's like, yo, I'm in.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people who probably coming in this year, I had no interest in Mortal Kombat. I know the games, and I would just pull it up on screen real quick. Some of the stuff he said in the interview, I know the games, and I've played them, and I've seen some of the little story bits from the newer games because they have these little cool intros. But I wasn't interested in this. But I saw the trailer, and I read this interview, and I see the videos. I'm saying, you know what? This is what we need about Hollywood. We need, or just movies about film, about the art. This isn't art, and people do appreciate the art. And you know, there is an art to a violent action movie, and this guy cares about story in a movie that's gonna have 13 to 16 fights. He cares about the damn story, and he talks about he is just, why can't all movies have this attention to detail? I was reading this thinking like, he's not saying anything revolutionary. He's just saying basic stuff. And real quick, I wanted to thank Ogre Squasher, who gave me a $10 donation. Thank you, Ogre Squasher. You've been far too fucking kind, and I appreciate it.
Eric, did he say anything with his 10?
Hold on, I gotta do this thing because I don't want to move it. I have the donation for a different screen. No, he didn't say anything. Just donated. Just being a cool guy.
What a prince.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Ogre Squasher has donated a lot, and I really, 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 really appreciate it. You guys, you don't have to do anything. I appreciate that you do. Keep the lights on in the Vigilante cave. So I think I've covered, I think we may have even been last week, how he didn't really know about the lore. And we did cover that. He didn't know about the lore.
That might have been on the Cocktail Lounge.
Maybe it was the Cocktail Lounge. Okay, so I'll just reset it real quick here. His personal history. So he played it when it was younger. When it first came out. Wouldn't call myself a rabid fan for it, but I feel like I've gone back to Mortal Kombat University in the developmental process. I surround myself with a shitload of people who know more about it than me. There's a lot to know. Like just that. The fact that he cares. How many of these fucking properties, screw the wokeness, they don't even know what the hell these characters are. That's why they're so quick to change so many attributes. They're just like, oh, here's a franchise, so let's just make them black or gay, and then we're like done. And that's it. That's all they know. They don't think about, hey, let's make sure Kung Lao's hat looks right. Let's go through 20 different fucking prototypes for this one article. I mean, it's an iconic thing because his hat, cuts people, but still, just to go through that much detail for one character in this movie, because there's tons of characters.
Well, and contrast that with what Gary was talking about on the Nooner with that woman, Jack such and so, the creator of WandaVision, where she says like, I wasn't really a big comic book fan coming in, but I just saw so many opportunities to tell stories about minority characters and women characters and changing perspectives and this, and that's how she sees it. Like, that's how she walks into this. She sees it like, oh, this is an opportunity for my politics and my platform.
I can now start.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, it's good. It's just that like that's how she views it. Like this is just another vehicle. This guy's like, I don't know about this. Let me learn about it to create the best story. She's like, I don't know about this. Who cares? I can tell whatever fucking story I want. She went so far as to say that she doesn't even know how to read a comic book. She doesn't know what cell to look at when she's reading, is what she said.
Wow. That's bad. That's bad. And you know something? Someone that attitude, it's no wonder they would see nothing wrong with kidnapping a bunch of people in a town and making sure that all the kids are hidden and not caring about anyone's families. As long as people are brainwashed and the main character's happy, nothing matters. Like literally nothing matters, because that's what happened in the show. Spoilers for WandaVision if you haven't heard. But yeah, Wanda was able to kidnap all those characters and then she was just let go because girl power. And so you can say, oh, okay, I get it, because you don't really care about other people. You're a sociopath. You only care about gratifying what you think. You don't really care about whatever group you use. You just said the operative word in that whole spiel was opportunity. You saw an opportunity for you to grift, and you latched onto it with WandaVision, and it's a shame. It's a real shame.
That's all this is. That's why it all looks like that. That's why everything, with the exception of this Mortal Kombat, that's why the Star Wars looks like that. That's why the MCU looks like that. That's why The Witcher is going to look like that, because they don't have any passion for this type of shit. All they see is an opportunity as a megaphone. It's a megaphone for their cult, and that's it. That's as much as they care about it. They'll use superficial things like lightsabers and superpowers, but at the end of the day, the core of the story is to indoctrinate you further. That's the point.
Yeah. And this is why I'm glad I don't see any woke politics coming in Mortal Kombat. I actually do know that the Jax actor said something woke on Twitter, but who cares? And I see people talking about Macaulay Culkin.
Take it from me. Fucking actors are stupid.
Yeah, they are. And yeah, Macaulay Culkin looks very creepy in this American Horror Story on the side. I see Islington girl talking about that.
Yeah. Can we I want to look at that story after we're done with the Mortal Kombat thing, if that's possible.
Sure. Yeah. He talks about the music. But in the interview wasn't as much detail. Actually, let me play a bit of the video real quick. Or let me play a bit of the video and then I'll get into that. Because the video just kind of has like I said, you can just feel that this is a labored over thing. You can just feel that conversations about how certain shots would inform the story were talked about. And that seems basic, but that's not always talked about. They just talk, like you said, it's a foghorn. It's a platform for politics. It's not, okay, how do we make this better? How do we make something that people are going to connect to? How do we be honest to what the fans expect? Like, that's not the conversations that they have anymore. But this guy is willing to have them. And that's why I'm like, hey, Simon McCoy, sorry for butchering your name. Director of Mortal Kombat, you are a hero to pop culture. You're someone who's trying to preserve pop culture.
Bipolar
and it's
depression.
appreciated. First off, did you guys hear bipolar depression from this ad?
I did, yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's get this going, and then I will share the screen.
Interesting point there, Manolo. We're gonna get to that at some point. The Snyder Cut stuff.
I know. Welcome to Snyder Cut.
We're gonna get there.
That's the hate, maybe, man.
100%. 100%. Also, it's a fan movement. They hate that shit. They look at us as scum. We're under them. They're the elites. It's a Hunger Games, man. It's like they're the ones up in like the fucking palace, and we're all just the rabble underneath. And the fact that the rabble could make anything move, could move the needle, disgusts them.
Well, the thing is, somebody at fucking Warner thought it was good enough to greenlight and put a lot of money. I think I've heard different estimates to how much the reshoots and re-editing and re-CG cost, but between 50 and 80 million just to toss at a movie that was already built to fill in the gaps. That's still a lot of money.
Because
they care.
I think Warner Brothers is one of the few places that realizes they actually have to start making money. They can't just preach at their audience, not get anything back on it, and then just continue to do it.
Very true. This movie, Mortal Kombat, I think is a Warner Brothers movie.
Sounds about right to me.
So yeah, I'll just go to the beginning, and I don't know if we're gonna watch the whole thing because it's 13 minutes, but just
Hello,
a few
everyone.
of the
This
stops.
is Simon McCoy, director of Mortal
McCoy.
Kombat. I'm
Okay,
going to
Simon
step
McCoy.
you through the trailer, give you some tidbits and what we did.
Shall probably turn it up. 'Cause it's never loud.
Every time I see it, it's so cool.
7 years ago, on a mission in Brazil to capture a wanted fugitive.
So this shot here was a very important shot to me. One of the things that you'll see in the film is that each of the characters get revealed and introduced into the story in a very specific way. So the way I brought these very revered and well-known characters into this was really important to me, and it was all about the respect of the characters and the material. So this shot here is about seeing Sub-Zero in a way that is sort of sudden and scary that's appropriate for his. He's the sort of villain version of Sub-Zero. He's the sort of classic sort of Bi-Han inspired version of Sub-Zero here. So this shot here and this scene is really about kind of experiencing him for the first time, as Jax does as well.
When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds.
So I know in a few different iterations of Mortal Kombat, Ermac has taken Jax's arms in the past, but they also, it's been slightly different across the board.
Explaining why he changed something.
In a few different iterations.
He cares enough to explain, hey, I know I'm changing something.
We needed to
but this is why.
drive a few certain characters and narratives. And so we felt that we could, given it had been done a couple of different ways in the past, we felt we had a bit of license to do that again here. We've really tried to be very truthful and true to the canon of Mortal Kombat where we can be, but every now and again we might deviate
just in case
slightly.
you didn't hear what he said.
Where we felt that it was
just in case you had a stroke at the
okay
shock,
to
that was delivered.
True to the canon of Mortal Kombat where we can be, but every now and again, a few certain characters and narratives, and so we felt that we could, given it had been done a couple of different ways in the past, we felt we had a bit of license to do that again here. We've really tried to be very truthful and true to the canon of Mortal Kombat where we can be, but every now and again we might deviate slightly.
But
where we felt
again,
that
his goal is to be
so.
truthful to the canon. We might deviate slightly. He explains. He said, "Hey, I changed something. This is why I wanted to kind of connect the story a little bit better, and that's why I changed it. But in general, I want to remain true to the canon." How hard is that? Is that really that difficult? I mean, it is. Obviously with the detail they put in this movie to flesh it out, but just to have that interest in the original canon of a property, why is that so difficult for Hollywood to do?
Yeah, because I think it's because they don't care. I think it's just not interesting to them. I think it's just another job. I mean, when I've lived around here, it's like I would meet people who would make like trash TV, and they weren't like trash people. It was like going to work. It was, putting up sheds, making vacuum cleaners, cleaning lawns. It was just a job. They don't care. They're not passionate like that. And if they were or are, it's either like gotten flushed out of them or they don't get to express it. So it's like when they get the new WandaVision job or the new MCU job, the new Star Wars, it's just a job. They're not like, oh my God, my lifelong dreams have been fulfilled. They're just like, okay, let's go to work on Star Wars, and they'll watch the movie once or twice and be like, okay, like they don't care, and they you can't make them because they don't understand what that is.
All right, that part is fair about it being a job, but even at a job, there's a certain amount of like, there should be somebody who cares. And what is the point of adapting a property if the canon doesn't matter? Because why are you even adapting a property? You're adapting it because there are people who want to see whatever the hell it is. So you have what is the point? Then if you're going to have that much disinterest, why are you even doing this property? Like, what's the point? Because somebody has to care enough. Well, I get money, but how are you going to make money if the fans or the people you're selling it to are not going to like it because you don't care about them? Well, it's like you have to still make the shed to use the, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, we don't give a fuck about this shed, so we're just not even going to let it stay. It's like, it's not even, the shed is not even put together, basically. You're just, here's this.
The thing is, like, the Hollywood model for a very long time used to just, I mean, it's still a terrible model, but from the short term, it makes sense. It used to be, have the biggest opening weekend possible, because that's how the Hollywood studios themselves would make the most money, because that's the weekend where the margins at the theater are most in Hollywood's favor. It's something like the studios that make the movies get like 90% of the income and the theaters get 10. And then every subsequent week it switches and gets closer and closer to 50-50, and then eventually becomes mostly the theaters. So Hollywood does not have a prerogative to make a lot of money long term. They have a prerogative to make a lot of money opening weekend, the most possible. That's how they want to do it. So they have a property which has a built-in audience, which up until very recently guaranteed asses in seats. You make a flashy trailer, you make it look like it's going to be good. You have a huge opening weekend. Job's done. Job's done.
Very true. I guess that. Yeah, and I guess once you built up Hollywood 20, 30 years on that, yeah, we happen to get some good movies too. But yeah, I guess that's how you get this. Real quick, Ogre Squasher, who was far too kind, had to fly. Hopefully he's still here. So yeah, gotta fly, everyone. Great chat, safe travels. Hell, Ogre Squasher. And this I also want to touch. Mark D with the C said someone posted a Twitter poll saying that if the Fantastic Four being all white actors would bother people, which is insane. 10 years ago, no one would have asked that question. I agree.
100% like a relevant conversation now. And I was thinking from a cynical point of view that maybe that's why he has the leeway to be so authentic to the lore with this Mortal Kombat, because of how like diverse, and by diverse it means non-white male, the cast of characters is. I think
maybe,
because I was just reading like real quickly this Sci-Fi Wire article, and like the first paragraph is just about Asian characters, Western lens, heavily criticized, stereotypes, and you're like, oh, okay, so you can fight the woke off with a faithful adaptation to this, because it doesn't have any like real straight white males as the leads. So
yeah, it was always Asian leads, and
you don't have to undo it. It's not like Marvel where you have to undo it because of how horrible and toxic it all is.
Well, hey, I guess they're just lucky that they're still considered Asian because sometimes Asians can be white, so who knows?
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, like a big win for the Asians, maintaining their cultural heritage and not being like white people.
Yeah, because Asian itself is one whole cultural heritage and not a bunch. Right. But like any other cultural heritage that they try to oversimplify.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like they're all just pawns on a chessboard for them, So they're just like Asians. They just like bring them in, It's like black people, Latinx. Like it's all just, it's all just none of you are straight white males. So you're on our side. Yeah.
Speaking of which, and this is the theory about I'm just not cool with no Johnny Cage. So I'm holding out hope. And I get it. I get why everyone's like, oh boy, Johnny Cage is missing. Is it straight white maleism? Who knows?
Could be.
But I think Johnny Cage will exist. My theory is they're holding him back for sequels, and because there are other characters that are not here. It's just that Johnny Cage, he's such a beloved character. For him to be missing, it's like, why is he in the first movie? But you know what? If I play a little bit of the trailer, the director will talk about why they went with Cole, this new character, as the lead. And real quick, Islington Girl, we do not need another Fantastic Four movie. That's probably legit. Make one about a minority character with a cool story. I was about to say they did with Black Panther. They didn't even try. The story was not cool. Wow. They would never do that because they only make minority characters. Like I would love a very fun adaptation of the Static Shock cartoon as a movie. But they would never. They're already going to make Static Shock a BLM origin, and it's like, okay, so this loses all the fun. It's just
they do it with everything. They even tried to make like Patrice O'Neal like one of like a racial crusader. I'm like, that is wild. That's a wild take to put on that guy.
Yeah, and maybe Johnny Cage will be in the post-credit scene. Hopefully,
that'd be cool.
I'll be down seeing him show up as a trainer for the new character, trying to work him in that way. I think we're going to see Johnny Cage in a movie in the background. Like there's going to be an Easter egg or something like that. Hell, Jake D.
Hey, what's going on, Jake D?
Yeah. And there are lots to choose from, seems like. As far as chess pieces, yeah. But let me see. Yeah, let's go on. He'll explain the character.
Kind of where there's been precedent, we tried to do that.
The target had superhuman abilities. It had the same marking you do, Cole.
So here we meet this Cole Young, the new character. And really, Cole's there, again, a bit like the precedent. We felt it was okay to bring in a new character, given that Mortal Kombat has over the years sort of introduced new characters quite a bit. It's not something, it's not like it's ever just stuck to the same classic set. Obviously, we're using the same classic set with the addition of Kung Lao in this one, who wasn't in the original movie. But we felt there was a bit of precedent there with introducing new characters.
Can you pause for a second?
And we just really needed to.
I don't buy that explanation. I don't like that explanation at all.
The explanation?
That just because they've introduced new characters in the past, it's not like a taboo to do it now. But this is a reboot. So
True.
What are you talking about? Like, why? How does that relate? Like, there's like 40 Mortal Kombat games. Like, there's 3 movies. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying like it's bad inherently, but it's a weird argument to make. And it's like, why? I don't know the movie, but like, why couldn't you just make the Liu Kang, or why couldn't you make it Johnny Cage? Like, why introduce someone brand new when this story is still pretty fresh to be told?
That's true. That's true. And I'm not sure if he says it here, or if I read it somewhere, but I do know that the lot of thought was by having everything, like, we're supposed to see things through his lens, this new character's lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we'll see like a Scorpion origin story. We'll see. Let me do that. We'll see people's origin stories, but like every character is kind of going to already be in a form of semi-establishment, and he's just going to be meeting them in a form of semi-establishment. So, I mean, they could have just did what they did in the first one, where we met Liu Kang and he was the main character, and we just followed his story. But I think at least and I don't know if he says it here, because I'm mixing things up, but I think the idea is, well, we're trying to show this entire world and this entire cast, and so we'll just create a character to be the audience. And I also think that he'll end up being an important character. Some people think he is Johnny Cage. I don't think that. I think he might actually be Ermac or another one of the ninjas that hasn't been shown. But you know what? On his face value, that I do see why you would call BS on that, because there's.
I'm not necessarily calling BS. I'm just saying I don't follow the logic, but yours makes sense. Like, your explanation makes sense, because if you have no connection with this character, then you automatically imprint yourself on him, and then he's the fish out of water in this new and weird world. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, let me see if he says that real quick.
As Cole learns, the audience learns, and it just helps us bring in those sort of fresh set of eyes. So
he does say a little bit about that.
He was born with it.
So that's the thing. But I mean, there's some cheesiness that he's born with the birthmark. I mean, I can't imagine he's just a completely new character. I'm hoping that's a little.
It's a couple of real sort of key ingredients to Mortal Kombat that I felt.
Hoping that's like a little
were really important ingredients. One, there was this sort of brutality. Pardon the pun. I know it gets used in the game, but there's a sort of brutal quality to it.
Okay.
There's also a great levity that runs.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it. My whole point was to show that this guy actually has an attention to detail with what he's doing. I'm not sure about every decision, but there's at least he's talking about stuff from a perspective of character, and he talks about the brutality or different emotions he's trying to emit, and not about this is a platform. This is we're trying to, like you said with the one, we're trying to tell all these stories, because he could very well, like you said, he's probably getting a little bit of a pass because of the cast's natural diversity, but he could very well, like, this is very important. We have Asian representation and Black representation.
You're right.
And
you're 100% right.
He hasn't said that at all, and he has the leeway to say it, but he hasn't.
You're right. That's a very astute observation, dude. Because you're right. I didn't even really notice that, but you're every other movie would have done that, Every other movie would have mentioned Jax's being black and whatever, and like him getting his power back and Asian representation and authenticity and non-Western, and they would have hammered all those points home. We didn't hear that one time.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
And Manila Rivera, who owns an IP's canon for something like a video game? That's a very interesting question, because video games usually have a developer and a publisher. So I don't know who owns the canon for Mortal Kombat, to be quite frank. And yeah, I'm with Jake D to an extent. I'm not convinced he's a really new character. I think that may be. I'm hoping. We'll see. But I think that may be a little bit of a red herring. He said, "Remember when JJ told us Cumberbatch wasn't kind?" Or if I think Kathleen Hahn for this WandaVision fiasco was asked about Agatha Harkness before the series, and I think denied it. So. People do,
Yeah, they do that all the time. They did that with the name of Endgame, and they're like, it's not called Endgame, but it was.
Yeah. They don't need to get too deep in the weeds with the story. I just want to see people dying in a non-political way. Yeah, I agree, but still show respect. Just have a. Don't make it completely nonsensically stupid. I think we can always ask that.
Don't do anything but tell a fucking story. I mean, that's my opinion, is just tell a story. That's your priority. It's not to move the conversation. It's not to change perspective. It's not anything. You are a storyteller. Tell a fucking story.
Yeah. Maybe he's born with it. It wasn't Maybelline, according to Brightest Day. And Godzillionaire. Yeah, hell, Godzillionaire. I want to be a Godzillionaire one day. They couldn't put Johnny Cage in the movie because a Hollywood actor in the supernatural not because a Hollywood actor in the supernatural tournament was too unbelievable, but because he'd be too woke to fight non-white people as a Hollywood actor, and that makes sense. He can't. Yeah,
he would just always lose and throw fights, out of respect for his non-white counterparts. You're right. That's a good point. Good point, Godzillionaire.
It says, like the Predator synopsis, it should literally be people dying, and I'm here for it. So Violet Islington, girl. I see. Very violent.
I like it. Primal.
And shout out to Stream Elements. I have to get these bots not all spamming all at once.
Yeah,
which I do not know how to do.
And you got to teach me how to do that shit. I can't figure it out. I had them exactly how I thought they were supposed to go, and I got like one every hour. I don't know what I'm doing.
I got the wrong direction, which is probably not help. Gotta start working on some videos. All right, I appreciate it. So,
that's
working
right.
On videos.
Geesh. If you got a channel, man, put it in the conversation to chat. We'll share it.
Yeah. If you put it in the chat, I think we're still able to see it, and we can reshare it.
Me? Because I'm
I can.
I thought you meant because I'm a mod. I don't know.
Oh, maybe you can. Some mod.
Jake D.
I'm a bloodthirsty Canadian. We fight cyborg grizzlies, and yes, I am indeed Boomer Lanty Boomerson. I boomer all the time.
Ditto.
Sweet will do, and Manolo. I think Manolo like Manolo Blahniks. Manolo Rivera is a proud boomer.
Are you talking about from Scarface? Because that's what I always think of, Manolo.
Well, Manolo. Well, isn't it like a shoe or something like Manolo?
I don't know. I just keep thinking of his friend Manolo.
Yeah, that's probably good too. But this is how Skynet got started. Boomers start using YouTube bots.
Yeah. I would have liked if that's how that. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you know that? Did you watch Love, Death, and Robots?
I did not.
Oh, that shit's sick, dude. You should check that out. That's a good series of short films on YouTube. It's mostly not woke. There's like a few like girl powery things, not quite woke though, but ultimately it's an excellent series of shorts, like all really tidy, like I don't know. Around 10 minutes long each. They're all really interesting, different visions of like Love, Death, and Robots. Really, really good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Raise Day. I think I might have found your channel. It's the same icon. So I'm gonna put the channel I think I found, and you can go to it. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. I think this is Bryce Day. He says he's just starting Be Gentle. I'm just starting too. We're just starting, but I've only been doing this a few months. 7 or 8, whatever it's been. So you had 7 subs. Now 8 because I'm just subbing. So yeah, give a man Bryce Day a sub.
Yeah.
because we
Robot
need more
Carnival,
creators.
huh? Brightest Day. I've never heard of this. Another anthology thing. Okay, cool. It's like anime style. He mentioned if you like Love, Death, and Robots, look at Robot Carnival.
Robot Carnival, huh?
Anime style. Okay.
Never heard of it.
I'm really trying to get back in. I'm trying to get into anime. Grin Akuma gave us all those recommendations a few weeks ago, and I really am going to go down them. I was actually reading last night. Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
And Mark D with the C has to go. R Mark D with the C held 7 C's, and I appreciate you being here. Seriously,
later, brother. Yeah, I was actually reading a book last night. No, I didn't turn on no TV, no movie, no nothing. I started rereading Altered Carbon from I read that years ago, and I went back to reread it. It was fun.
Yep. And apparently I did get the right Brightest Day. So cool.
Nice.
And we got about 11 subs. Cool. Let's it's 15 of you. Oh no, 14 of you in the chat. We can get all of you guys. We can get them to 20.
I can do it.
It would feel cool to as my all of you who got here because somebody told you to sub to me. So please sub to my man Brightest Day.
I subbed him. He's got a bunch of videos up. He did a stream for Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. He's put up in the past week. He's put up 5-6 videos.
There you go. You put up more videos than me, so you're doing better.
Cool, man.
I do actually like Lupin the Third. I liked it when I was younger. Go enjoy some Lupin the Third for anime. It's kind of 70s, 80s.
Lupin the Third.
Yeah, I say it's fairly popular.
Oh wow, Brightest Day is really on brand. I'm looking at his video. He's wearing the Green Lantern shirt. That is really solid branding there, buddy. Got the logo and the shirt. That's consistent. There you go. He's putting together a model.
Oh man, and I saw something with Gunpla. So I know it's I was huge into Gundams when I was younger. What do we got, my man?
He's putting it together in real time. That's crazy. It's a 2-hour stream, and he's just building the whole thing.
That's pretty
nuts. What a badass!
That's man.
Yeah, I guess so. If you guys like models and stuff like that, go check out Brightest Day.
Yeah, and I like some there's certain streams. I know Az would do a Lego stream every now and again. Sometimes that stuff is pretty chill.
Isn't that It's a Gundam's entire channel?
I believe so. Because Gunpla is a huge thing, yeah.
And that's what he does. So he's a big YouTuber, right? He's got 200,000 subs, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's got more than that. I think it's 400,000 or 500,000, something crazy. But we gotta support each other one and all. Once you're a bigger YouTuber, support us.
He's got 530 subs. I wasn't even subbed. I am now. Yeah. Oh, and he put out something about Pepe Le Pew. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Are we done with Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. Just Simon McCoy, thank you for giving a crap because more people in Hollywood need to. You're a hero of pop culture and you're appreciated. But yeah, Pepe.
Yeah, dude. No, that guy's the shit. I big fan.
Yeah. So apparently, it's a Gundam second channel is about the Gunpla.
Oh,
it's a side channel. He has multiple channels. His main channel is commentary. So shout out to the It's a Gundam fans for setting us straight.
I'm a fan. I've never watched a single video of him, but I just love him on FNT. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he is great on FNT.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? Yesterday I covered parts of it, and I found an interesting tidbit about the Pepe Le Pew thing. I'm not sure if you caught any of it. I know you.
What's the story? Is he's not going to be included in the new
Space Jam 2, which only God knows why this is even be made. But apparently he was in a scene that was totally created in Space Jam, but it's been taken out, and so he's not in the film anymore. I guess they have the film, but they've edited that scene, so he's not in it.
And the conceit, the reason that they're doing it is because he's too sexually charged.
Yes, he's normalized rape culture is the exact quote from the New York Times article.
Look, let's be honest. It is a little wild that in a kid's cartoon, there's just a fucking horny skunk trying to bang this chick for endlessly. That might actually be a little much for a kid's show, to be completely honest.
You know what? That was my first. I joked, semi joke, super chatted was it Air July? Yeah. I said, hot take Pepe Le Pew should be canceled. He's a rapist, and he taught a generation of men how to be simps. So like, there's something wrong with Pepe Le Pew. Like, it's not like I wasn't uncomfortable like when I was young. Dave Chappelle didn't point it out. I was like, Jesus, dude, chill. But it's one of those things like, I don't know.
No, as I say, the problem is it's hard to separate the wheat from the chaff nowadays because they're just canceling everything. Like it's, everything's going like the whole Dr. Seuss thing. I mean, numerous examples. So it's like as soon as you see it happening, you're like, oh, here they go, and you can't even really assess for yourself if this is a good choice or not.
Well, he says he's French. That's the joke. Doesn't France actually have a cat calling like law? I'm 90% sure they have a law in France. So
cat calling
that'd be
law.
ironic. Yeah, like you can't cat call. So I don't know how procreation is supposed to happen, but you're not supposed to. You're not allowed to cat call a woman. So I'm not sure where that delineation is. So I mean,
so that's like 3 generations away from like women living in a facility and like suitors having to apply and like go through like a screening process in order to mate, and then like it's just 100% like you're tied up against the bed. She uses you and kicks you out.
Like praying mantis style.
That's some crazy shit right there. Like that's just what are they?
Racer, as far as anime, but yeah. Was Speed Racer anime? I guess it is like an early anime. But yeah, what are they?
100%.
And then Johnny Bravo. It says in the end he always gets shit on like Johnny Bravo. Johnny Bravo's getting he's next. They're coming for Johnny Bravo.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But like that's not, it's not anywhere. But well, you know what? But I guess Johnny Bravo always lost too. He never really got laid. He never got the chick, which I never understood. I never understood how like that guy who's like very classically attractive and also big and strong never got the girl. I never got why that was. I never understood that joke.
Maybe the joke was that he was so thirsty. That's why he didn't get the girl.
I guess. I don't know. It's like, that Tom Brady, he'll never get laid. It's like, what are you talking about?
Like, yeah, doesn't make sense. Yeah, I always thought that as I got older, I'm like, okay, you're telling me the super jack guy with just this super jack, like beach blonde, like muscle guy is just gonna get denied by all of these women. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, vain men get laid all the time.
Yeah.
That just sounds like that's one of those things trying to redo the world. Honestly, I felt that way about I felt like it was the last Avatar or whatever, Last Airbender was pretty intersectional. Like I was trying to watch it and I'm like, this is fucking annoying. Like this girl is so smart and the kid, I guess Aang or whatever, he's fine, but like the brother is such a bumbling idiot, and it's like, oh, the idea that boys are trying to be something is stupid. A girl's always smarter and better. I'm like, this kind of sucks. Like, I don't like this.
Well, to be honest, I mean, the dumb patriarch or dumb brother trope is an old trope. That's not new. I mean, I remember Family Matters. Eddie was like all stupid. He was like a dumb character. There's what's another one? Al Bundy's kind of like a dumb. Even though Al Bundy's not a good
Al Bundy's
example.
Al Bundy, he's a savage.
Al Bundy's not a good example.
Because that's the only time they ever really portrayed it like, like brutally for the man, where it's like he's just so over banging his wife and she's just dying for it and he just won't give it to her because he's just like, ugh, leave me alone.
Yeah.
That's not, you're never gonna see that again. But no, it's always the dumb husband, like
dumb husband trope.
They Brian Regan had a joke about that years ago. It's like they just have like in the commercial, like, and in the background, like the woman's just like, oh, in my house, I'm the wear the pants, and in the back, like the husband's just stuck in the blinds, like, just like, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want to get woo-woo again, but it just always feels like destroying like the idea of the man as something to look up to is like at the cornerstone of so many of the things they make.
Yeah, and now I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat who is just going off as usual. I love you guys. You guys are so awesome. But yeah, I share your, you know me, I can be really off there on the woo-woo line. But I definitely think there's something to destroying masculinity and making every element of it toxic.
Yeah.
Just like the whole the idea of a law about catcalling is like, what? Not to say I can understand. I totally get not wanting to be like catcalled in general, but like when you create laws, they have to be interpreted. You know what I mean? And so then there's like, well, where's the line gonna be on this law? And where's the line? Because then now we're saying if a woman is not attracted to you, because this is where it's gonna go. If a woman is not attracted to you and you talk to her, you're going to jail. And it's like, well, that's
crazy.
You know, that's where the potential line is. Was he insulting the French or women? Not sure. As far as Pepe. And actually, real quick, this one's a little older. I said, I never noticed that when I was a kid. Thought the whole shtick that it was a cat that he was after. Yeah, that was part of it, that he wanted a cat who looked like a skunk. Yeah. And he is kind of a hopeless simp. He's very much so.
Yeah, but it is a little weird that the whole thing is so sexually charged. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not saying I'm for cancel, but it's just kind of
it was a little bit much for a 5-year-old to a 10-year-old. Like, you don't really need. You know what it is? If we're gonna make the same argument about, hey, you don't really need to be teaching your kids about homosexuality when they're that young, I think that the reverse argument can be made against Pepe Le Pew. That's fair. I think that's fair. It's just still, I don't like canceling. I don't like censorship. But yeah.
No, me neither. I don't. And I'm certainly not going to die on the Pepe Le Pew hill, but it is just a little like, it's endless. You know what's interesting though? And I was listening to an old Opie and Anthony episode last night, and they were talking about, this was a few years back when it came to Huck Finn. I guess Huckleberry Finn was being canceled, and they were working on like reprinting the book by taking out the N-word. Like, I guess like the guys, Jim, and it was like N-word Jim is like what's in the book. And there's like all this controversy about that. But apparently a lot of what that comes from the publisher, who decides to kind of create an uproar so that drives book sales, so that there's this fake controversy, and it's like suddenly this book is in the public, everyone's taking up arms for one side or the other. It drives sales, and that to me could be what's going on with the Dr. Seuss thing, because apparently once they decide we're not publishing these books, it drove sales like crazy. And also like there's a huge resale market now on eBay. It's almost like it was a false outrage just to drive sales, because it came from the Dr. Seuss estate. It didn't come from anyone else. It didn't come from
absolutely did come from the Dr. Seuss estate. Even though I will say around that time, I want to toss this out there, kind of links both stories. If I can go here. This op-ed, I think this is the day after Dr. Seuss got canceled. First off, I read through this op-ed. He literally says nothing. He literally says almost nothing about Dr. Seuss. He says a bunch of BS exposition in one part about Dr. Seuss, and that's neither here nor there. But a couple of other things are included in this article, namely Pepe Le Pew, who we just talked about, and Speedy Gonzalez. And it's just interesting that all of these properties end up canceled so quick. So, like, to go back on the Exozone, it's like, maybe a little coordination there. Now, as far as whether or not there's a little outrage sales, I mean, my only thing with that is that they're scorching the earth with Dr. Seuss. And I actually, I said this thing yesterday. I was like, okay, what is so offensive that Dr. Seuss needs to be scorched earth? I see the little, the depiction of the Asian is very dated. Okay, if you want to eliminate that depiction, or if you want to even eliminate that book, that's fine. But you're going through everything he said. Show me the racism in the Cat in the Hat. Show me the racism in Redfish, Bluefish, and all the classic Dr. Seuss things. Then I'll be okay. If you can't, then let those alone.
Can you? I just wanted to just interrupt real quick, just because of what the article that's on the screen is. And this is what frustrates me so much about the way, like,
you're reading it. Sheesh.
Well, just the way these SJWs write, and the way these kind of like culture reformers write things and like assert themselves. It's in that second paragraph where it says some of the first cartoons I can remember included Pepe Le Pew, who normalized rape culture. Right there, he says that like it's a fact. Like not only that A, rape culture exists, which I don't believe it does, and B, that it was intentionally normalizing it. Like that is all like that entire conclusion that type of culture exists is A, opinion, and the fact that this was normalizing it is also opinion. That's all opinion, but he's saying it as if it's 100% fact and it's agreed upon by everyone. And that is what's so frustrating about reading their work and like listening to their arguments, is because they take so much that's just opinion and then that's the way the world is. That's what fact is. And that to me is the most enraging part about dealing with them, because it drives you fucking crazy, because it's such a wild way to look at the world, and then to act as if that is the way the world is madness.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they do, because this is social engineering. I mean,
yes.
that's why we keep saying it's not exosome. This is what they're doing, because this is the New York Times. This is a major publication.
Yep.
Maybe the major publication, despite all
the paper of record as they declare themselves.
Yeah, and this is again Pepe Le Pew and
like listen to his language, whose friends helped popularize the corrosive stereotype of the drunk and lethargic. Do you honestly think that Americans' impressions of Mexicans is that they're lazy? That's why they there's such a labor disparity, because they're so lazy. You could pay them to do like work all day and pay them nothing. Yeah, because they're so lazy. Yeah, obviously that corrosive stereotype really took hold in the American zeitgeist, because that's all of our opinions on it.
Yeah, I'm 1,000% sure it's the exact opposite.
Fucking hate these.
Yeah, and it is Manolo Rivera. And sorry if I missed a lot of you guys in the chat. You guys are going off, but yeah, it is the same as the Disney CEO when asked about Carano, which we'll probably get into a little bit later. What was this? You guys are talking about this Gambit Magneto thing for Rogue in the chat. That's going on in the chat. I've seen you guys talk about that, but in general, Pepe Le Pew is kind of a different one. He's like you said, that creepy element. Why was his character sexualized? But just the language that they use. I'm always, and I think if I keep this up too long, you'll just get angry at the language. With the Latinx, the same people place Latinx label, and you guys are still on the Gambit of Magneto thing. And so, hey, it's cool that you guys, how cool it is that we have a chat and you guys are having independent conversations because you're just into it. That's like so cool that the chat's big enough for that to happen.
I love
it's super dope.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's I don't know. To me, it's the lack of subjectivity that really frustrates me. It's that kind of one size fits all cultural re-engineering that is enraging. Like, it has to be this. This is the only way to look at it, and this is the only conclusion to draw. Is just so despicable. And they're the same people that clamor on and on about preserving other people's cultures. Well, there's other cultures that exist within this one. There are other cultures that exist within this culture that disagree with you and want to maintain their history and their legacy. And it's not all racism and horrible sexism and blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's the culture they want to enjoy. And you don't give a fuck about preserving that culture because that doesn't fit your re-engineering agenda.
And to be fair, they don't give a fuck about preserving the cultures they purport to want to preserve. It's just,
that's true too.
It's just the shield, the pawn, whatever they can use at the time to get them going, get them clout, get them the platform. You brought up the WandaVision creator. Again, the operative word was opportunity. She saw an opportunity. She saw an opportunity, a platform for her to make money talking shit, basically, to talking the same woke garbage that everyone else is doing. But it was really about her. It was about, it's not really about diversity. It's about her getting a job in Hollywood to say she worked on the MCU property. That's what it was really about.
And to move her agenda forward. They think, because they honestly believe the problem is that you haven't heard the good word. That's how they look. They're like missionaries. Mm-hmm. They have to go preach the good word of wokeism. And then once you hear the good word, you'll immediately be converted. No, idiot. I've already heard all your arguments. I disagree with your supposition. I disagree with your conclusions. I don't see the world the way that you do. And that doesn't exist in their brain. They can't allow those two things to coexist. Like, everyone either needs to be on their page or silenced. That's their two options. That's the way they look at the world.
Yeah, they're Wokova's wokenesses to say Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's funny.
Wokova. But yeah, because they pray to the God of wokeness. I just made that up right then and there. I was like, okay, I got it.
They played a Wokova.
I got to use Wokova because it is a religion. It's a woke God. This God of wokeness. It is, and I don't know what. And
it's not as benevolent as religion because there's no forgiveness involved.
None, which is pretty much the point of religion. I mean, with all the flack it gets, and a lot of it rightful, but you still are allowed to redeem yourself, and you cannot. You make one of these crazy slights, and all of a sudden you're gone forever.
Well, also, and if you're a straight white man, you're born with original sin. I mean, you're born privileged and racist and horribly oppressive, and then there's no pathway out of it. You just have to take your beatings for the rest of your life.
That's insane. And I just don't want to, I refuse to accept that. Just like I refuse to accept this idea of white privilege for the purpose of, like, what does that say about me that I am just automatically less than someone with less melanin? Like, I refuse that. I agree. I'm never going to accept that shit.
It's because it destroys individuality. Because honestly, if you follow this stuff to its like logical conclusion, like, then racism is accurate because they just take generalizations and then apply them to the entire group. It's like, well, then if you do that with negative things, then racism's real. Like, then racism should be trusted because according to your logic, that's the way to look at the world, is that everyone fits these generalization categories. Everyone who fits this description also has all these traits. That's how you look at it.
That's absolutely how I look at the world. I talk time and time. Every time they have a new black character, they're either a member of BLM or a gang, or like, that's it always, or they're in a van down by the damn river. You know what I mean? They're drug dealers. Always. Yep.
It's always like it's like this monolithic like culture. Like, there aren't individuals within the black community according to them. Everyone thinks the same in the black community. They're all the same. And if they're not, they're like traitors. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's exactly how even though I think more and more people are starting to like spin off of that.
Individuals they exist. It's just the way they depict it.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for them. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I was just going to go to the chat, but you finish your point first.
No, it's just easier for them to make their arguments like that. It's easier for them to straw man, and because that's what it all has its roots in socialism, which is just the bourgeoisie and the working class. Like, that's all it is. It's like they separated the world into two classes, the have and the have-nots, and then now it's just they've separated into all these, like, basically the same thing, but it's the haves are straight white men and the have-nots are everyone else.
That's exactly what they've done. Welcome to critical race theory, Manolo Rivera. Said that's exactly what it is. And critical race theory is dangerous. Talk about something fun you guys are talking about in the chat. Because Star Islington girl talk about she watched the crap out of the 90s X-Men cartoon and Batman one, which I love both. Batman anime series is my favorite property of any kind, period. And if you like the 90s X-Men, I can't remember what it was called, but they have this like video where they have the original cast of the 90s X-Men, the voice actors. And a couple of them had passed, but they had like prior interviews, and they put it. They just talked about their experiences doing the show, and it was really cool. So I would check that out. And then,
also on the topic of 90s nostalgia, I saw on Twitter that there's a side scroller or like a platformer of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that just came out.
A new one, huh?
Yeah, and it's like a throwback to like the old like Sega Genesis style game.
Oh, that's something I might get. I like that style in general, like the indie game that's like more nostalgic to its 90s and 80s style gameplay.
Do you want me to find Shredder's Revenge? It's called.
Okay, let me see if I can find it real quick.
I got it.
All right.
So there's the official trailer. The thing is, like, when I looked at the official trailer, like the first, I don't know, like 45 seconds is just kind of like a trailer for like a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And they show gameplay at the very end for some reason. I don't know why, but we can plug it in. I'll share my screen.
All right. Real quick, yeah, Fathead Druid, and shout out to you for showing up. The current black stereotypes, they're ridiculous. They're bigotry by low expectations. Yeah, the math is racist thing that really creeps me out. Funded by well, I don't know if I can still say his name. The guy who ran Microsoft, he funds that shit.
Yeah, bigotry of low expectations is such a spot on way to describe it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, positivity.
Positivity. You gotta keep positive.
Yeah, this looked pretty cool.
This looks cool. It looks a lot like oh, this looks fun. I know, was it last year, the year before, Streets of Rage released a new game. So you know, it was in the same style of their original game.
Yeah,
from the 90s. So it's really cool to see that nostalgia. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're like a sneaky little franchise. They have that Last Ronin comic that's really good. Then they have this. They're a niche franchise that's just under the radar. So you don't really hear a lot of wokeness out of them. You also don't really see them, with as big of a platform or big of a profile. But
it's a pretty cleverly made franchise too, because if you think about it, the comic book it's based on is really violent and graphic. It's not like a kid's cartoon, but then you get introduced to it as a kid and then you grow out of it. But then when you become an adult, you're like, oh, well, the source material is really badass. So it's like you can maintain a fandom your whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. And franchises used to do that. They used to allow themselves to have a violent side and a kid side. This is like Streets of Rage style.
It looks just like the platformer from like they had remember they had like an arcade version, of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Turtles in Time.
Yeah, that's exactly what that looks like. She's like, that's so cool. I like that there's a throwback to that. That's fun.
Ooh, Anthroparion. You guys are talking about I don't know what you were saying with Femmer, but he says who plays the old Jewish guy in Coming to America 1 and 2? Yep. Eddie Murphy. Remember, it's okay when they do it. So yeah,
Chappelle did it. Chappelle did it. What's his name?
What do you mean, you people? Anthroparion. That's actually a reference to the time that RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. did it brilliantly. By the way, the same year he made Iron Man, he made Tropic Thunder, and it was a brilliant movie. And I hope he never. I know, he probably will get canceled, attempted, but I hope he never gets canceled because I love that movie and I love that portrayal.
I don't think he will, because the joke is how like stupid the actor is for thinking he can do that. Like that's the joke. Like the joke's on the Hollywood actor. So I don't think they would ever go after it. But it's not that I think they should go after like Chappelle or who's that other kid from Yo Mama and all those different shows. What is his name? Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon did it, and the Wayans brothers did it with white chicks. I don't think they should be in trouble for it, but it's just a weird double standard that it's like, well, it's okay for other races to portray other races, just not white people. It's like, what are these rules?
And I guess the idea is from there was blackface back in the day, which I get. But
okay, there's lots of things back in the day. We can't live our lives like on the sins of the past as if they loom over today.
It's really like, you remember the Jenna Marbles thing. I'm surprised that kind of went away, but like I don't know what happened with her, but there was this thing where she made fun of Nicki Minaj and it was completely innocent. She had extra spray tan on, but they considered it blackface and she just went away for a while. I'm not sure whatever happened with her. But I thought that was bullshit when that happened. It was complete bullshit.
It is bullshit. I mean, it doesn't have to be malicious. Like, no one thought twice about it when Jimmy Kimmel did Karl Malone or Shaq.
No one did.
Because it wasn't racist. The guy's black and Jimmy's white, and he was just doing an impression. That's all it is.
Plus, fuck Karl Malone. He's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, but even still, regardless.
Yeah, but you're right. No one even knew he was a piece of shit back then, so that it wasn't relevant. It was never a relevant point. It's just funny. So
there was no outrage then. It's just that now we're trying to find people doing anything racially related, like anything that like a mainstream like like white person does that's racially related, they're gonna like, it doesn't matter what their point was, doesn't matter where their heart was at. It's just that they did something racial. Now we've got you. Like, people need to push back on this shit. They need to be like, go fuck yourself. I didn't mean to hurt anybody. And you know that you're just trying to find easy targets.
And you know something I've been wondering, because as we had this conversation, the name Howard Stern popped up. Because Howard Stern used to say the N-word a lot. I grew up on Howard Stern. This kind of shows you where I came from, right? But like my parents and my stepdad and mom played like Howard Stern and shit and loved Howard Stern. And he said the N-word a ton, and it wasn't really not a ton, but enough.
What
lot more
context did he use it in? Because
he would just say it like jokingly. He would be like, he would have like a black voice. And he would just jokingly say something. There's like a interview, I think, with G-Unit where he says it like on the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds. No one really thought too much of it though. And I still don't really care. But my point is, he's never been nobody's gone back and said, well, you said this all these different episodes. Same with, and I hate to do it. I really hate to do this. I'm a Detroiter. I grew up liking him. But Eminem said a lot of things in the 90s and the early 2000s that there's no way in the world he could say now. No way in the world. And I've heard a little bit of heat, but I mean, as long as he, says F Trump, he's okay. Like, who's making these rules for cancellation? Dr. Seuss has to be eradicated. And again, I don't want these people to be canceled. It's kind of like what you were just saying with Chappelle and Nick Cannon, whoever. I don't want necessarily these people to be canceled, but I just want a consistent standard for why we're doing things. You know what I mean?
The people who are making the rules are the people who acquiesce to it. Those are the people that are making the rules. Because as soon as you validate irrationality or bullshit, then like, you are then saying, then this is acceptable. Like, you need to hear that that's nonsense and be like, no, we're not taking you seriously. We don't care. Get loud. It doesn't matter. Like, you have no actual power. As you can make a stink about this for 3 months. It won't matter. And first of all, you're going to get bored after 3 hours. But yeah, you have to push back and be like, no, we're not doing anything about it. So you can just go ahead and be mad, and then you'll get over it. That's how life is. Sorry. And then that's it. Like, it's just all this acquiescing because no one has any principles like in this stuff. Like, people don't know where they stand on racial issues because they're terrified to even think about it. Like, they just want to be told what they're supposed to think and then think that because they don't know, like, they're too scared to have the wrong thought or say the wrong thing. So they just were like, oh, what? Okay, that's racist. Sure. Okay, that's racist. Dude, you know what I saw? I saved it because I love you. And I knew you'd get a kick out of this.
All right,
okay,
cool.
This is something my friend, like a friend of mine, a person that I know, put this on their Instagram yesterday. Okay. And this is I'm not gonna use her name, but she's like an actress. She's been on some shows and shit. She put digital blackface term.
What?
Yep, this is what she put. An online phenomenon where white and non-black people share GIFs and photos of black folks to express emotion or reaction to anything happening on the internet. While seemingly harmless, the problem with digital blackface is that it often reinforces negative stereotypes about black folks, such as they're aggressive, loud, sassy, and simply here for your consumption. Another way to try and co-opt black identity and culture without any of the day-to-day realities of being black.
Okay.
Digital
like,
blackface.
How do you even react to something that ridiculous?
If you're a white person, the conclusion is have nothing to do with anything black related.
Yes,
because you're just going to get
conclusion is segregation.
Yep. What else are you supposed to do? You can't even share a GIF now of a video if it's you can't. That's digital blackface. And
so wait a second. Hopefully this damn thing is working. Sorry, it's not. Oh no, that's why I had to stream. So this GIF, this is this a negative stereotype?
Racist. That's digital blackface you're doing.
Why? This is a very popular GIF, and this is something they're not using. Is their fucking head? They're not using their fucking head. I don't understand how that's racist and why that should be racist.
I mean, it's just gotten so insane. But people are so afraid. Like, they'll hear like some lunatic, person say this to them. And then they can't be like, that's ridiculous. That does not mean anything about, they don't, because like pushing back like makes you like a target. So they're terrified. So they're just like, yeah, okay, digital blackface is a thing now. It's What are you talking about? And this was like shared on my social media yesterday.
I can't believe people are thinking this way, but it's just like, for fuck's sake.
It's staggering. Like, just when you think more rationality is coming into the world, like you just see how wrong you are, how like crazy people are, and how like it's like, oh, this isn't going anywhere.
And I'm not even sure what's the cultural shift is. So I'm going to look to the chat for encouragement and happiness.
For hope.
Hope. Islington Girl says Streets of Rage, the game where you drop kicked hookers. It was great. You did get to drop. They were hookers. Indeed. There's that bloodthirsty nature again. Indeed, guys, there it is. Islington Girls play all 3 Streets of Rage games. Let me see. Best TV in living color in the 90s. Launched a lot of stars.
Very funny show.
Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, and Jennifer Lopez all started there. And Islington Girl says Living Color was the best. She wanted to be a fly girl with her LA gears. So that's super 90s.
Yeah, LA Gear. I remember that. LA Gear, LA Look. That was like a branded product.
What are the lights? With the lights on the bottom, Islington Girl. Look at Leo DiCaprio. How many times he dropped the N-bomb and Django Unchained? I mean, it's a movie, but that's
not true. People did care. There was like all this stuff around that. And I saw an interview with him, and it was so funny. Like, it first came out and someone asked Tarantino about it. It's like, does DiCaprio have, like, was it an issue for him? And Tarantino's response was like, if it was an issue for him, I wouldn't have hired him for the job. Like, no, this is the dialogue I wrote. I don't want you to have an issue with the dialogue. But then there was this groveling interview with DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson, and DiCaprio's just like, and it was on these days, and it was so hard to say these words, and how challenging it was, and the weight, the racial weight, and the gravity, blah, 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 blah. Please don't fire me. I beg of you, black people. I swear I'm not racist. Please don't persecute me.
Well, listen, I don't know if Leonardo DiCaprio is racist. I know he may be a hypocrite because he fucking did that shit where he's like, oh, everyone, don't care about the environment as I use private planes to get around. Oh yeah, but he's a tool.
I don't have a problem with him. I just have a problem with like the culture. It's just like that was set up. That was something that some publicist decided was necessary. Like, that's how we handle these things. Like, not that this is about history and that's how it used to be, and there's no offense meant. This is just the way it used to be. It's just that, like, oh well, we take our concerns seriously. It's like when Altered Carbon came out. The character's name is Takashi Kovacs, I think, and he's an Asian guy. Like, his original sleeve is he's Asian, but the way that story works is you can change sleeves. You can go into different bodies, and the story starts off with an Asian guy going into a white guy's sleeve. And there was like, initially there was this outrage about it. And then the creator of the show was like, we take your concerns very seriously, but this is the way it's written in the book. That should be like, you guys are looking for things to get mad about. This is the way it was in the book. Stop jumping at shadows. Stop trying to find racism around every corner. There's no racism here. This is a story. Go be productive with your lives. Call your fucking mom. Clean your room. Go be an adult on your own life.
No, I want to yell on Twitter. It's all Trump's fault. Everything that's ever happened and gone wrong in my life is Trump's fault. You ever hear super fat women blame Trump for being obese? I've seen it like multiple times.
No, that's
not
fun.
Just like in one setting. I've seen it in multiple different situations, different groups, right? Black women, different groups. Trump. I'm like, what?
I want
your ability to have self-control is because of Trump.
That's all, dude. Someone like my acting coach when Trump got elected, like he had just quit smoking, and I saw him outside and he was smoking. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? And he's just like, oh, Well, I'm like, look, man, if you hate this guy so much, like you picking up smoking, isn't that like letting him have power over you and letting him win? And he's like, well, I donated all this money to Planned Parenthood and this, that, and the other. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this guy win. Like you're letting the stress of this guy win. Like you're being unhealthy to fight him. What?
Yeah. Hatred, and I've heard this, and this actually does help me. Hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick.
I love
And
that
that's one of the reasons I'm not really into the victimization. One of the trillions of reasons I'm not into the victimization thing and in the hatred thing, because I have to live. And that, man, I'm really seeing it amp up in a lot of people. And I'm like, man, that's real sad. It's real sad.
And it does nothing for you. It doesn't. You're not going to feel better. You know, like these wokies, the SJWs and the feminists that I know, they're all miserable.
They are, and because they're trying to hate someone else to make up for their own lack of love of self. And
yeah, they're trying to hate the world into equality. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Hey, Godzillionaire has a quote, a chat there where he said they cut the best storyline out of Altered Carbon. Listen, my friend, I am right now going back and rereading the original book, and then I'm gonna go over each episode on my channel. So stick around and check that out, man. And if you want to refresh on the book, you can be as up on it with me, if you like. But that's a project I'm working on. So if you're a passionate Altered Carbon fan, man, check me out when that happens.
Yeah, and the Matt's channel should be in the description. If you haven't subbed, you should sub to him if you're not subbed, because we want to see the show next week. It's going to be on his channel.
It's going to be on my channel.
Yeah, give him a sub. Real quick, I wanted to, who said it yet? Anthroparion. So he said, yeah, now I'm having wrong thinking when rappers say the N-word in rap songs, are they literally calling the equivalent of a Brit a chive? And this is, so then now we're talking about chives. I'm not sure what chives are, I'll be honest. But you guys start talking about it.
Chav is like slang term. I think it's like they're white trash. I think it's British white trash is like a chav.
I see.
I think.
Huh. Oh, this is about the LA gear. Not the light ones, the hot ones, the hot pink. Light braiding on the side.
That's awesome.
So I'm not sure.
Fathead
Drew.
Huh? No, Fathead Drew was just talking about Altered Carbon.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Fathead Druid. Child was a UK hillbilly, so yeah, that's what that. I guess that is.
Yeah,
what it is. I guess in some ways, I'm kind of tired of the N-word being a thing. We can just, yeah. I mean, I'm not a censorship guy, and it's not like it bothers me, but it's just like
I don't think
the idea that this is a thing. It's the conversation about who can say, like, I don't care anymore. I just want to go on about my life. I'm not like offended. Like, I don't know. I just don't care anymore. It's probably the best way of putting my whole thoughts on it. But
it's a real complicated one, and it's like it's one that it's kind of an endless conversation, to be completely honest. So it's,
and I guess to kind of go back to the point I just said is like the hatred is drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's like, okay, it's not. I used to say the term of endearment argument, but like it's not really a term of endearment. I
don't think it's good. Yeah.
No, it's really not. It's weaponized. Yeah, and it's like there's just the older I got, I just could not overcome the like dissonance of saying I'm allowed to say this and you're not. I just couldn't. So I'm like, all right, how about I just don't say it? Because
I also think there's something of. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, but my thought is, if I would be offended if somebody else would say it, not that I totally don't say it, but I try not to the greatest extent that I can. But go ahead.
I just always felt that there was something dark or just, I don't know, hurtful, bad, just about always like within the Black community of like Black guys always calling each other that word. Like, I just feel like it's kind of like putting it in your head that like you're lower. Like, I think even if it is like, oh, it's a term of endearment, we mean it positively. We took it negative and made it positive. It's like, I don't really think that's the effective outcome. I think, like,
that's a very good way of putting it. I agree with that.
Yeah, like and that's always thought that. I just like I don't know, because it's like it's not on the top of your brain, but I think on the subconscious, I do think it affects on a deep level.
I'd agree with that. I would agree with that, and that's why I'm. I would agree with that. I'd agree with that.
We can all just move on from it. So
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah,
like when I get asked about certain Spanish cuss words, I mean, it's not a term of endearment. Yeah, yeah.
Are you Spanish? Is Godzillionaire Spanish?
Godzillionaire, are you Spanish? Are you a Godzillionaire in pesos? I know it's Mexico, but let us know.
They probably use the euro in
in Spain. I think they would use euro.
I don't know. I don't know much. All I know about Europe is meme culture.
Yeah.
So
real quick,
whatever's on 9gag.
Something that else came out of the Disney thing that I wanted to touch on about old Gina, and just as I said in the video earlier this week, I'm starting to fatigue about Gina Carano. It gets brought up again because in that investment call, she was asked about, and Bob Chapek just fucking lies. And yes, Fimmer says Spain does use euros.
Okay, good.
Godzillionaire is a mutt. Technically, so am I, man. I mean, technically, so are most people.
Yeah,
at least in the West. At least in the West, because I mean, people like fucking each other. But David from Alexandria, Virginia asked, it's clear, I love this. It's clear that there's a new blacklist punishing conservatives in the entertainment industry. Before I go through the rest of the quote, this is showing you that normies and regular folk are starting to wake up to this shit. That an investor on a Disney call said this sentence. It's clear that there's a new blacklist punishing conservatives in the entertainment industry, which I agree with it wholeheartedly.
It's just not even arguable.
No, it's not. Even though this asshole's going to lie about it, but just the fact that the investors are waking up to it is to me, it's good news. It's good news. But Disney Plus actors Pedro Pascal and Gina Carano tweeted similar analogies of current political events to Schmatzi.
They
Germany.
Still misrepresent what she said. She didn't say that. That's not
she
what
absolutely
she said.
did not.
She said persecuting anyone for their political beliefs is the beginning, is the first little bit of snow that eventually turns into a snow boulder.
Yeah,
that's all it is. That's all she said. She didn't say about the current situation. She didn't say about anything. She just says, how is persecuting someone for their religion any different from persecuting someone for their political beliefs? That's it. Has nothing to do with the time or anything. Like, you can imply all you want, but that's not what she said.
Yeah. Very true. But I guess his point was that fact, because it really wasn't. You're right. They weren't similar, because what Pedro did, he said this group is like that group. So that was a very different analogy to saying, hey, this political climate where we're turned against each other and people are being persecuted for their political beliefs is similar to when this group got persecuted by the normal people, by the regular people, by your neighbor.
Total misrepresentation of what she said, and also lumping them together as if they had the same intention. Like, oh, these two actors just tweeting wild stuff. It's like, fuck you. He was intentionally divisive, intentionally like making people out to be who didn't believe with him as hate group or as people in hate groups. And then she was saying, can we have a little less hate for people's differences? She's the one who gets fired. This asshole lumps them together. Very true.
Very true. But he actually brought up the blacklisting to Bob Chapek. And he says Carano is the only one. Carano, who's considered conservative, was fired. Only Carano was fired from The Mandalorian. Regarding Disney and a blacklist, this is the way, question mark, reference, obviously, to The Mandalorian. And then Chapek, if you actually heard his voice, definitely does change. He says, I don't really see Disney characterizing itself as left-leaning or right-leaning. Oh, you know what? I'm glad you said that, Bob, because I have the verse, the video clip right for that.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
There's no way Disney's not far left-leaning. There's no way that's not that. There's no, and I'm talking Disney as a company because it goes down to Marvel Comics, the regular stuff, even the non, branded, because they have Pixar and all these other brands, just the regular Disney stuff. Everything they can do can be as woke as possible. So that's just complete BS.
If you could quantify it. If you took mentions of left-leaning political platforms in interviews, you could get a number, and you could quantify how much left-wing agenda employees of Disney have. That is not an objective. That is not a subjective opinion. That is an objective fact. Disney is in the promoting of left-wing agenda business. That's inarguable. It
is inarguable. Real quick, King amongst men, Grinakuma's here. Hail, Grinakuma.
Yo, what up?
Here.
Grinakuma, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, it's complete BS. As Grinakuma said it as he walked in, Chapek is a simp little bitch, and KK has his balls in her handbag, his and Iger's and anyone else's.
Yeah, and anyone who's not actively standing up to her.
And yeah, her quote was basically, "Don't hate on your neighbor," which is valid. And
right.
But nope, got to be canceled. This is a right wing, abhorrent behavior.
Yep,
comparing right wing conservatives to Jews and concentration camps. That's the narrative is. They're going to keep spamming that until you believe it. Ironically enough, it's a strategy by that same funny mustache guy where if you tell a lie enough, people start to believe. It's funny how they talk so much about him, they use so many of his tactics. It's just
and Pedro legitimately referred to everyone who's a Trump supporter as a Yahtzee or as someone who would fight to maintain slavery. That was his authentic parallel. Not even an interpretive necessary. That was his parallel in his tweet. Guy still got a job. Mm-hmm. Don't you dare tell me there's anything other than a bias at work here. You guys are out of your minds. You expect us to believe this?
And this is more to this lie. He said instead they stand on values that are universal, values of respect, values of decency, values of integrity, and of course, values of inclusion.
Integrity.
Get the fuck out of it. What integrity does Disney have? As Gary brought up on the Nooner, you guys don't even pay your writers that you owe.
I have no problem with inclusion, but mentioning values of inclusion in 2021 is a left-wing thing to do.
Yeah, and because values of inclusion don't mean inclusion doesn't mean inclusion. No, so I don't even see that word. It doesn't mean including people. It means how do we use people as shields and use people as propaganda, and how can we get done with our work sooner by just hiring a black or a gay person or whatever other group they want to use, a Latinx person, put them in the cast and we're done because we can't be criticized unless you're a Yahtzee. Because the only way to not like us is Yahtzeeism, right? It's BS.
100%.
Grinakuma, I don't see how anyone with common sense and values, the thing that Chapek likes to talk about, could in clear conscience support Star Wars and Disney after this past couple months. I agree. Corporal word salad, fathead druid. Agreed. And I don't want to support them. I mean, I still want to cover them, but I don't think I would be reviewing anything they do. I'm not reviewing this Winter Soldier crap. I'm not reviewing the Loki crap. I'm not reviewing What If. I'm not reviewing anything. I'm not going to review and bring any more attention to it. I will point out the hypocrisy and the news from it, but I don't want to support them. I'm much rather give more attention in general to other franchises. I think Hollywood has outlived its usefulness, and they're literally lying, and the shareholders are getting onto it. I think that's kind of the news from it. And they're still, the shareholders are still, they have narratives of their own, or they're just getting narratives. But they're very much aware of what's going on. So it's like, okay, the jig is basically almost up on a lot of these companies. How long, man, the fucking All-Star game for the NBA was this weekend, and Clay Travis was talking about how much they fell off since their heyday in the 90s. The fact that there were 20 million people watching the All-Star game in 1993. I think it was more than that, 23 million people watching in 1993. And right now it's just 5 million. And even with, the COOF and everything, the NFL still has, a lot more viewers watching the Super Bowl and big events than they did in the 90s, but the NBA doesn't. And just seeing that something that was a staple, the NBA with Michael Jordan and Magic and all these, Magic Bird, was a staple at one point in American society and in culture, and it's not anymore. It's completely fallen off. This will happen to Hollywood. It's not just can. They've done too much damage. They've gone far too far to go back. And I think this is we're watching the beginnings of that. It's going to be de-emphasizing culture. That's why so many of you are here. We love you here. A lot of you are here because you're like me. I want to watch something on YouTube, and I'd rather watch Foulball, rather watch JD, I'd rather watch Nick Wise, I'd rather watch Gary, I'd rather watch anything but a bunch of woke idiots lie to me in virtue signal. And so
and also like Grinakuma says, and they have the nerve to call us toxic and lecture us. Yeah, like they have disdain and no respect for their audience. Like the entire audience needs to be on their page in order to like enjoy their stuff. Like that's who it's designed for, their little social circle. And if you're not in that, then you're intentionally being antagonized. And it's like, I don't want to be antagonized when I'm giving you my money to be entertained. It's
you're not owed our money.
Yeah, no, you're not. And it's like it's even worse than like, it's not interesting. It's like you are intentionally antagonizing your audience. It's like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and real quick, shout out to Eric K, being the king of mods. He said me correct. It's a quote from Goebbels. To repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. And I'm not sure if I got that guy's name right, but I was wrong. It was not Funny Mustache Man. So thank you for correcting me, Eric K. I appreciate it.
Eric K is the man, as always.
What does it say? The Star Wars name will be deemed offensive soon, and it'll be problematic situation amongst stars. Well, I thought the left likes to bomb everything in the shit. Nowadays.
It'll be star conflict resolution.
Maybe. This is what they did. They minimized the black actor in their posters in the Chinese market. Thank the CCP and Mulan. Don't pay your writers, attack fans, silence female voices you don't like. What a great company. And obviously, with the whole Mulan thing, filming a film near a camp where you concentrate at and being cool with that genocide over there. There's that as well.
It's all fine. Of course, it's all fine and good as long as you can make money on it.
Yep. And then have the nerve to call us toxic and lecture us. And as Manolo Rivera reminds us, Latin is a masculine versus feminine. And because they're trying to destroy both masculinity and femininity, Latinx is their preferred term, even if that's not yours or anyone with sense. And I seriously hope this is going to wake up some normies. The Corona thing has been in the news a lot. So there's hoping. And again, I think normies have woken up. If they're talking about this shit in the fucking in the investor meetings, investors are talking about it. I know these investors may not. Well, I don't know how many shares they hold. I don't know what your shareholder level needs to be in one of these meetings. I'm sure it's not, I'm sure it's more than 2 shares. So if investors are starting to ask about this, they can't hide from normies anymore. I think a lot of this shit they were able to hide. Oh, they're just nerds. Oh, they're just the right wing. Or they're just this small group. It's not anymore. And I don't think they'll be able to hide. So I think normies are waking up.
It's because it's constant. It's ceaseless. It's like I noticed pretty early on, I'm very sensitive to that kind of stuff. I can just I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm tuned into that. But and then you see people kind of like more and more like get on board. But now it's at the point where there is no refuge from it. So you have to notice it. It's impossible. If you're consuming any of it, you are either aware that it's there, you A, are fine with it, B, are indifferent to it, or C, don't like it. But you have to be aware of it. It's ever present.
Yeah. And there's a reason it's ever present, because they're trying to they're ham fisting this down our throats.
Yeah.
And they're ham-fisting. I may have misappropriate the origin of that quote, but to tell a lie enough is really the whole premise behind what they're doing. Not just in this specific case with Gina, but just in general with a lot of the core principles that they are inherent lies or inherently untrue things that they're just pushing and pushing and pushing. Like you brought up when we were covering, forgot the asshole's name, but he just talked as if his opinions were facts. They just push that shit and spam it. And those opinions have been talked like they're facts for so long that people start to think that they're facts.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's like the term racist has you can only be a racist if you also have power or whatever that definition is. And like they just keep regurgitating it until like Webster's dictionary like adhered to them and changed the definition. And it's like, that's not the definition. They just created an argument loophole where they can never be accused of racism, but that doesn't mean like that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like just because like it's the complete lack of logic, but they just kept saying it, and then it became true. And it's just like absurdity.
Yeah. He says they can always get a Luke moment to distract the normies back into submission. They've really destroyed everything since that Luke moment. You heard it here first. If you were here, I think Anthroparian may be one of the few people. Right after that goddamn Luke moment, I told you it was a trap. I gave it a 0 out of 10 because I knew they were setting us up for the fall. And every fucking week, literally every week, they've proven me right in that regard.
You are 100% right. You are way out ahead of that one. And I remember you coming on, I think it was my channel, or I don't know. We had a conversation about that. And I was like, damn, that's a hot take. And you were 100% right.
Yeah, it's like, would you go to a restaurant, the waiter would take a dump on your plate, slap you in the face, and then take your money, name you any other industry outside entertainment, would that will work? Unless you're dating Amber Turd, I'm not sure. But Anthroparian says S&M, Grand Akuma. So there is an industry in which that would work if you're looking. But yeah, that is what it's like. That's exactly what it's like. It's like this disrespect of fans and this entitlement to our attention and money. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's complete lack of respect. That's why that Doomcock quote of "without respect we reject" is so appropriate, because that's what it is. I mean, that's what I was talking about on Monday. It was just like it's not even that they don't respect you to like they don't respect you so they don't make good content. No, they literally don't respect your ability to come to your own conclusions. You need to be told what to think. You need to be reprogrammed into their new utopia world that they're creating.
And if you think the wrong things, it's because you're like the wrong type of person. Like you're really wrong. And it doesn't. And the race thing, the idea that like if you're black and just not super left leaning, you're a traitor to your race. Like what the fuck type of shit is that?
Yeah. And
it's like they've created this rule set and they're really pushing it towards society. I remember early on when we were talking about WandaVision, we talked about how like the intersectionality was in our own heads. Like we were watching through their lens. So yeah.
It's wild, man. It's a wild world out there. But you know what? Look, fuck it, man. We're here saying the truth, and there's people here listening. So obviously, like, hope is not all lost. It's just that we're in this situation now, and this is the way it is. But I mean, I believe I have hope for the future. I have hope for alternative platforms, and I have hope for alternative content, and maybe just like a collective like back turning, and then maybe they'll come back in line. I don't know. It's frightening to me, especially with the new administration being like, seems like they're 100% on board with this. I don't know. It's frightening, but we are the people and we have the power and we don't have to take this shit lying down.
No, we don't. You're right. It's dangerous to be indifferent. And that's why we're not indifferent. I may be indifferent to the content that Disney produces as far as a fan, but no, we are going to keep our foot on their ass because, this shit has to stop. You said it's depressing to think this will never go away. There is going to be content that isn't woke, that's good, that's still produced. The human condition is not just going to forget how to make art. It's just not going to come from Hollywood or if it is, it's going to be a very limited doses.
It won't be for a while from Hollywood. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And we are going to wrap up here pretty soon. We'll get the last few comments. Thing is, we geeks are only a small part of the audience, but the amount of money we spend on stuff we love is a lot. I don't think normally spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the thing: even if we are a small part of the audience, and I think we're a lot larger part of the audience than you think. We are at least a part of the audience where the actual groups that they are purporting to go for, which I think is starting to be a myth and a straw man anyway. But they're always looking for this new audience that doesn't exist. We actually do spend money on this stuff. We actually care about these products, but this audience that they're supposedly trying to court, they don't exist. These people who are on Twitter, who are the definers of our culture, these woke 20-year-olds with like 100,000 roommates who can't do anything and are mad at the world, who are on Twitter all damn day instead of working. They get to define our culture, but we don't. So, yeah.
I also think nerds and people with passion move the conversation. You know,
yeah.
I authentically believe that. I think people like Gary Mahler, you know, Doomcock, guys who are like at the helm of the fandom menace fest, like fleets. I think a lot of people take their cues from them for good reason, because they're intelligent, they're insightful, they're knowledgeable, and they really care. So I think while, yes, like the numbers are few, there's powerful voices in the actual resistance. And I think it you know, change can come. You know, I mean, just look at us. I mean, just our existence alone is indication that there's change, because we, you know, we're just two dudes not partaking in this conversation just 6 to 8 months ago, you know, and now we're here doing it every day, or, you know, a few times a week. And that's difference right there. That's proof that there's difference on the horizon. 100%. Yeah.
And excuse me, we are that difference. Grant Akuma is hopeful for new IPs, independent creators, guys like us. Yeah. YouTube, Japanese media, all good stuff. Yeah. We will find good stuff, and we will make good stuff. And yeah, Gary is like the nerd dad. He is like he's the godfather. He's one of the godfathers, because all those other guys also need their names mentioned, of a whole movement. And there's still at least hundreds and hundreds of thousands of us. And yeah, those guys are OG ballers. But there's hundreds of thousands of us. I have my meager 300 some odd subs, which is not meager. It's huge to me. You're at 1,000. So even us, we were people who were fans of Gary who decided to create our own channels. And now we have our own voice. You know what I mean? And there are other people in the chat who want to come out with channels. Ironcaster has been on my show. Shout out to Ironcaster. Gary's the new Johnny Carson. He kind of is. Friday Night Tice is kind of the premiere show for a lot of people. At least me. That's the premiere show of the week to me. That's the premiere show of the week.
Talk show that I listen to like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, my friend, I gotta get going.
Yeah, and we've gone 2 hours, so we hit everything. We hit everything we think we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we didn't talk Snyder Cut stuff, but
oh shit, we sure didn't talk Snyder Cut stuff.
You know, if you wanna, I gotta run, but if you want to just go solo for a little while on that, that's cool with me.
Okay, I could go if you guys want. I can go solo. What I think about the Snyder Cut, real quick before you run. What do you think about it? Like the basic. When I say what do you think about it, and for those who don't know, the Snyder Cut was uploaded in place of Tom and Jerry for a short amount of time and leaked, so you were able to watch the Snyder Cut on HBO Max for about an hour or two. But there's people, because of all the sabotage of the Snyder Cut, who think there may have been some nefariousness going on with that. What say you about that before you get out of here? And
I don't have like a concrete idea about it, but it's definitely really suspicious to me. Like that raises some. That's very suspicious. I'm just like, why? How could that have happened? Like that's not a kind of thing that happens every once in a while. Like. You don't accidentally click on Captain America and like Iron Man comes up, or like watch Goodfellas and like some kids show. Like I've never heard of that happening one time ever in a streaming service. So the fact that this happens on this like relatively controversial title, that's, you know, basically a fan movement started thing, That makes me ask some questions for sure. I don't know, but I have some questions.
Yeah, and I do too. I think I'll probably wrap up because it looks like everybody else is trying to get out of here, and I understand that as well. Real quick, I'll say Walter Hamada, who's ironically the guy who Cryborg hates, but he said in an interview with the LA Times that this is a road that leads nowhere. It was clear that he's not positive on the Snyder Cut. So if people high up are not positive on the Snyder Cut, and think about the fact that they were messing with this guy after what happened with his daughter, and they were still harassing him. So there's a real hatred for this movie. So I definitely think it's plausible that something nefarious is at play. And that leak is super suspicious. Is WB trying to sabotage it? I don't know. But we will get out of here on that note because and leave it to you guys. So let us know in the comments below. Do you think that this is an intentional sabotage? If you haven't subscribed to Foulball Productions, I'm not sure what you're doing. Link is in the description. So please give my man Foulball a sub. And that'll pretty much do it for us. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I have one more thing to say. This is the Culture Crime Fighters. We are a culture crimes task force, so powerful, so far-reaching, not even the most dastardly of villains can escape. Our goal is to identify and defeat all culture criminals wherever they lurk and destroy them. For too long have these cretins carried out their nefarious. We'll see for it longer. Beware. You may commit your culture crimes, but if you do, justice will be served at the hands of the Culture Crime Fighters.
Yeah. Love that outro. Yes, we are fading out Gazillionaire. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gazillionaire, Granny Kuma, Fathead Druid, Eric K, Islington Girl, Fimmer was here for a little bit. A bunch of people I can't remember because
Eric K, Jake, Thoth.
Yeah, Thoth was here. Thoth, Red Shirt, Jake D. was here. Ironcaster, Manolo, Rivera, Gazillionaire. Huh?
What was it? Brightest Light or what?
Brightest Day. Brightest Day. And by the way, it's up to him. He has his own channel, Fathead Druid. Everybody, love you guys. Peace.
Peace.